When people say that they don't have time to exercise, it's usually because they didn't assign any meaning to doing any kind of exercise. And that was me 10 years ago. Why are you running in circles? I literally laugh at them in my head as I'm like, what's the point of getting so big? This person at the age of 50 or 60 managed to reverse some condition, then, if she can do it in her 60s, I'm only in my 30s, right? Don't I have a chance at this? Progress, not perfection. Perfection is sort of an illusion. Nothing is ever completely perfect. There are people who write books and 10 years later they do a refresh. Professional athlete, at their level, they're still trying to further perfect their craft. When you're at the end of the rope, you've exhausted all your ideas, your human smarts. That's also usually the point where you find God. Sometimes I think I'm responsible for all the good things that I'm doing. I don't think I'm that smart to conjure it up on my own, so I attribute it to something that was divinely inspired, and I'm hoping that this tool will be able to bless many people around the world.
Well, thanks for coming in, Terence.
Thanks for having me.
To kick things off, why don't you share with us a fun fact about you?
Well, a fun fact about me is that I often have my kids confused when they're trying to answer their friend, hey, what does your dad do for work? Because I do my national service with the police force, so they think I'm a policeman. I started my very first company in music education, so I'm a conductor, and I also am in the health and wellness space, workplace wellness. So doing a few things at the same time, on top of some work with GPTS. So my son has a new way of introducing me, and the way he says it is speak and get paid. That's what my dad does. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what project are you currently working on then, since you have expertise in many fields? What are you currently working on?
Okay, what I'm currently working on is the fourth update of a tool that I created some 4 years ago. And in updating it the fourth time, one of the things that got me to this point was someone in senior management in the police force challenged me and asked, can this tool be deployed at scale? And right at that point of time, the answer was no. That was the second edition. So we made some tweaks and we managed to scale up a little bit, but not at the level where it's like in the thousands or tens of thousands. So this fourth update, this fourth version, is going to be something like StrengthsFinder. You're familiar with StrengthsFinder or MBTI, 16 personality assessments, DISC?
Yes.
Yeah.
This personality test.
So it's meant to look and feel like something like this. You answer questions and then out comes an automated report. And yeah, this was only possible because I was challenged to do something about the scalability of this tool. Yeah, so that's my biggest project for the moment.
Okay, let's rewind a little bit now. What were the early days of your working career like?
Well, the real early days, I was focused on music education and I was a conductor. And I thought that I would be in the industry for the rest of my life and just stick to one lane. But as it turns out, there was some part of me that felt I had more to give, but I didn't know exactly what it was at the start. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's next when you feel like you have more to give to society?
So the first pivot was in leadership coaching. And that's also where I realized that the skills needed to build a different business in a totally different industry was quite different from the skills that I had. In my music business, we had a lot of referrals, so I didn't have to do any marketing at all. People already knew us. And when I was trying to pivot to doing leadership training, nobody knew who I was and I had to learn marketing, and that was a whole new ball game. And that was also where I made some of my biggest business mistakes.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Was that when you hit at a point where you hit a major setback? That's when.
Pretty much, a few
Okay.
things came together. One of which was I booked a venue that was a little bit too large for the people that I could pull in. 200 people came. That venue was meant for 5,000 people. So we had to cover the top level and the second level and only use the bottom level. And we lost a lot of money on that event, that project. But what was more significant than that was my piling up of health conditions. So I used to be active in school, secondary school, in national service, and then it just went to zero. No exercise at all, no sports. And bit by bit, my health took a downturn. And one of the lowest points was about the same time as this business failure, somewhere in 2014, about 11 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you say the business failed or it took a big hit?
Both.
Okay.
It took a big hit. And I decided that maybe I wasn't at the right age or the right timing to dive into that topic of leadership coaching. Yeah. So I took a step back and focus more on my health.
Yeah. Okay. Very important to get back onto your feet.
Yes.
All right. And during that recovery journey, was there someone or something that helped you out of that tough and challenging times?
Well, the funny thing was, they say that most people don't take action unless they feel pain or the pain is big enough.
Yeah.
So I had a few different episodes of pain, physical pain. I had severe chest pains at one point of time. Went to the doctor, the cardiologist, had a full check. And his response was, Terence, you're very stressed. You need to learn how to relax. That was my only medication. I was expecting more. But at that point of time, business stress and other things were really taking its toll. But even then, that wasn't enough to create a big change. What really made a turning point for me was a highly embarrassing moment. So I was on an overseas trip with some other regular police officers, career police officers. And it was the last 2 days of our trip. So it was R&R. And it was on Australia, Perth.
Okay.
So we were doing a hike. It's not a very steep hill, but my knee started to hurt. For the very first time, I've never had this experience. And it hurt so bad that I was slowing everyone else. And as we were going down the hill, it was the same thing. I had to walk backwards, and I felt terribly embarrassed. There were some female police officers who were younger than me, some were older than me, and everybody had to really slow down just because, I was hurting and I was slowing down the whole group. And although nobody said it out loud, I always wondered to myself, was any one of them thinking in their mind that, hey, this guy can't even, walk up and down a hill. Like, how is he going to lead a big group of officers, right? It doesn't seem like a good idea. So that was the turning point. I knew that I had to do something. I didn't know exactly what I should be doing, but I knew that I didn't want to, continue down that path. I couldn't imagine what it would be like, 5, 10, 15 years, what the pain would be like in my knees. I asked myself, would I need to do knee replacement, and that really got me on the path where I decided that I had to do something.
Yep. Otherwise, conditions will get worse.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So knees were hurting and chest was hurting. So
Yes.
health took a big hit.
Yes.
All right. So what were the steps you had to take to, rebuild your health so that you could, provide for your family and then carry on with your business and career?
So the first thing I thought that I should be doing is to exercise, right? It's like common sense, right?
Yeah.
Not fit, do some workout, but that didn't work out.
Oh.
And I went to stand on the scale and I'm like, what's happening? I'm putting in the time, I'm putting in the effort, I have the intention, I'm doing the action, like what's going on? And then I realized that there were other people who were in similar, not exactly the same, but similar situations as me They're putting in time and effort, but they're not sure why it's going down the drain. So then I began to investigate for myself, and I realized that that wasn't the most important thing for me at that point of time. And it was when I changed my nutrition habits, and what I did on a daily basis, then I started to see results from the exercise plus the nutrition. Um, and then I went deeper into certifications and study of nutrition, health coaching, as well as fitness.
Mhm.
And I realized that there was actually quite a lot of people who have good intentions. They are taking action, but they're just getting very minimal results, sometimes even no results. And that's also why I created the health map assessment, right, to help people figure out in a short amount of time what is their hidden obstacle, so that they won't fall into the category where they're putting in a lot of time and effort, but it's going to waste.
Yeah, what I learned in my own personal journey is main things I focused on was sleep and nutrition, and exercise is a small part of the equation. Once I fixed my sleep and nutrition, I felt that my health, improved. Instead of sluggish day in and day out and relying on caffeine, I figured out, okay, eat the right foods, cut out salt, not completely, but reduce salt, fats, and sugars, and that's where I improve on my health. So, what's one or two key things in your health map that could help people get from a point of where they are now struggling in health to a much more better position?
So, what we normally see in our Singapore audience is
Yep.
that many of them score quite low in terms of their stress and rest.
Yeah.
And I think it's also might be the same thing in other parts of the world. But the real key thing is that how am I going to give my audience of 10 or 50 people something that is personalized if I'm using a checklist, right? Yes, they will know that there are these 20 things that are beneficial for their health, but then that doesn't really answer the question, which should they do first, right? So like for me, it was nutrition. For somebody else, it might be they need to work on their stress, because that's interacting with their sleep, or that's affecting their ability to lose body fat. That's why I created that health map that help people to identify, even if they come as a group, everyone will walk away from that session with a personalized plan. They would see, okay, my lower scores are, let's say, maybe hydration and rest. Okay, so for that person, those are the two things that if they really put their time and focus and energy on those two areas, you're going to see the most results. If they want to improve something that's already a high score and improve it another 10-20%, they probably see very minimal changes overall. But if they raise their lowest scores, their weakest areas, then they're probably going to see much more results.
What advice would you give to someone who's feel like they're behind, stuck, or hopeless in terms of their journey in health or family relationships?
Well, I think that the first thing is that awareness of where they are and the awareness of the pain they're experiencing, or maybe a future pain, right, if they don't take action. And one good thing that they could do is to try and read stories, or look for stories. It could be a video sharing or testimony of how that person who is experiencing a similar situation as them managed to get to a better place. Because I find that that's really the starting point. If let's say I have never heard of anyone reverse their health condition, then I would be doubtful of any positive change if I were to make any change. But if I hear many stories of people transforming their health, and then maybe for a variety of different reasons, different motivations, then I might feel to myself that if this person at the age of 50 or 60 managed to reverse some condition, then I'm in my 30s. I was in my 30s back then, 10 years ago. Then I would say to myself, okay, I think I got a shot at this. I remember very clearly, there's this newspaper article. It was a grandmother who had a wall of marathon finisher medals behind her. And what was impressive wasn't the medals that she collected. What was impressive was She never did any exercise her whole life, and she only started in her 60s. So that made an impression on me. That gave me the thought that if she can do it in her 60s, I'm only in my 30s, right? Don't I have a chance at this? So if someone is really feeling down on themselves, or they're feeling like hope is lacking, the best thing to do, one of the best things to do, is to look for stories and to seek out people, or go to YouTube and to fill themselves with stories of people who have overcome. It may not be the exact situation, but something similar, and that seed of hope will help them to take the next step and the next step.
Okay, yeah, find people that inspire you and listen to their stories on how you could implement in your own life, in your own journey.
Yeah,
to,
that's
to
right.
improve yourselves.
I think that's also useful because it takes the focus off yourself,
Mhm.
and then you're thinking about, how this person was motivated to make a big change that was difficult. How this person also felt that same hopelessness or depression, and what really helped them to come out from that. And then maybe you have 3 or 4 different ideas, and you say, okay, that one I think I can do. Let me start with that small step.
Yeah, small action steps. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then build it into bigger steps. All right.
Yeah.
What's a quote or mantra that you live by then, in your field of expertise?
I would say it's a 3-word quote. So it's progress, not perfection. Perfection is sort of an illusion. Nothing is ever completely perfect. Even a car would come up with a new model the next year or the following year. So we can get close to perfection, but I think what we can really control and focus on is the ability to progress, to improve, to iterate, and that is within reach. Sometimes if we try to wait for the perfect moment, that perfect moment never comes, and nothing gets done. Or no, I'm not going to publish my book. I'm going to polish it up for another 2 years. So focus on progression, and know that there are people who write books and 10 years later they do a refresh, right? So that's also possible, updated version of the book.
I agree. Yeah, make progress, not perfection. And do you have 1 or 2 example of how you instill this idea into people to take action, making progress and not perfection?
I would say that perfection is something that is an illusion, right? We think that it's perfect, but 1 year later we realize that it wasn't so perfect, right? Perfection is a construct. So I would say if you're able to identify that this is good enough, it's 80%, 90%, 95%, then it's good enough to go. So same thing with exercise, right? They might not have the perfect form, right? Exercise form, or if they're running, they might not feel like, they're in a state of flow, and it feels a bit odd, especially if you've never run for a long time. It feels like your legs don't belong to the body. It's flapping around. But at the same time, what we can really focus on is how we can get better, instead of thinking about, my form has to be perfect, because then it becomes counterintuitive. It becomes like, I'm not going to do it, all or nothing, and it's nothing today because I couldn't get it right. What is better is to think of even professional athletes, right? At their level, they're still trying to further perfect their craft. So it's a process, and knowing that we're going to be better 1 month from now, it's always very comforting, and knowing that we're striving for perfection, but we're aiming for progress. Yeah. You asked me about a low point in my life, right? I think that it reminds me of John Maxwell. I'm not sure if you know John
John C.
Maxwell.
Maxwell.
Yeah, he likes to say that when you're at the end of the rope, right, when you've exhausted all your ideas, your human smarts, and you come to the point where you just give up, and you just say like, I have no more strength. That's also usually the point where you find God. And what I mean is that sometimes when we are capable, where we can solve our problems, we feel that we actually don't need God, right? Because like we are doing everything. But sometimes when we're at the end of our abilities, and we are humbled by the circumstance, that's where we realize that we can't rely on this source. There must be another source, a bigger source, a greater source. And I think that we all have our own sources. It could be belief in ourselves. It could be belief in a system, a very famous teacher. But I believe that my source is from above, and that's where I get my strength. And it's something that I have to remind myself every now and then. Sometimes I think I'm responsible for all the good things that I'm doing. But the health map assessment that I shared, it actually came to me in one evening, and I don't think I'm that smart to conjure it up on my own. So I attribute it to something that was divinely inspired, and I'm hoping that this tool will be able to bless many people around the world.
So the name of the system that was
Uh,
divinely
uh,
inspired is called
the current name is called Health Map.
Yep.
The earliest version, I call it the Fit Formula Map. And the reason for the change of name was because I wanted to have this tool translated into the 10 most popular non-English speaking languages. And, I went to search and try and find something that's universally and easily understood. Right? Fit Formula Map, it could mean a lot of different things in different languages, but Health Map is the most self-explanatory thing that I think won't get people confused. It's easy to understand, and that's how the name evolved into the current one, which is called Health Map. Yeah.
And this updated version has been launched to
We
clients.
are at the final stages before we do a pilot test with some beta testers, and it should be able to launch this year, 2025.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, exciting. Okay.
Yeah. I also have a book,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's I can just show you and
Yep,
just
sure.
see if you want to show to the audience there.
IPPT ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So in Singapore, we have this annual fitness test that all the uniform officers need to take, and it's important especially for the career officers. It's an important part of their operational readiness, and also for their progression in their career, their promotion.
Mhm.
So this is something that I created. It's kind of like the second version, and is made available to all officers for free. And what's unique about it is two things. One, the exercises are in 3 different levels. So one for those who are aiming for like a 100% full marks. The one in the middle are helping people who are borderline pass fail. And the lowest level, level 1, is meant for people who are maybe recovering from injuries, or they've never passed before and they want to get started, but they don't want to overdo exercise, right? They want to progress safely.
Yeah.
So it's in these 3 different levels. And the other part of this book that's unique is I have this segment to share with leaders how they can really effect behavior change. Because many times the national servicemen who are having their own jobs outside, right? They are not full-time in any of the uniform services. They are very resistant when it comes to training to pass this test. And this has been going on for a long time. Even with more programs, more fitness programs, we didn't really see an uptick in the passing rates. So that led me to one very clear conclusion, and that is giving them and supplying them with greater ability didn't help them to become more able. What was missing was trying to reach out to their level of willingness. So then I kind of like, turn the tables around, and I like to ask my national servicemen, and I ask them, is it true one day you will return your uniform and you don't have to do this test anymore, right? Then they said yes, right? One day we will return uniform, we are very happy. And is it true that you still want to be a strong human being, a strong man for your children, your spouse, if you're dating your girlfriend, for your parents? I said, if that's true, then let's look beyond the test. Let's talk about how we can stay strong and how we can participate in sports, working out together, creating different communities, either by interest level, like a particular sport, or just by residential area, right? People in one area can come together and they can exercise. So about 4 years ago, we launched a program where we had officers come together of their own accord, they're all voluntary, come together to exercise. And at its peak, we have 5,000 unique individuals coming together in 50 over different areas, residential areas in Singapore.
Wow, 5,000. Wow.
Yeah. So that was a project that I was, I had the honor to be involved in. And I think that really focusing on a person's willingness to want to work out or to have some meaning to that is more powerful than just giving them more equipment or programs that they can join. We target their willingness and not just the ability. Because if the ability by having more programs was the solution, then we just put a gym below every house. Would that work? Probably not, unless the individual finds a new meaning. When people say that they don't have time to exercise, it's usually because they didn't assign any meaning to doing any kind of exercise. Yeah, and that was me 10 years ago. When people were running around and going to the gym, I literally laugh at them in my head as I'm like, what's the point of getting so big, right? Oh, why are you running in circles? I saw no reason for doing that, and I told myself that exercise is a waste of time. And that was something I said out loud and I said in my mind, and as a result, I told myself, no time to exercise. So it was only until I assigned meaning to it, right? My knees were hurting. I didn't want this to continue or get worse. And then I made it meaningful. I want my knees to be strong, right? I want my knees to be pain-free.
Yeah.
So I think many times when we talk about motivation, it's also about meaning. And meaning can be assigned or it can be reassigned, right? If you did not assign any meaning in the first place. And that is really a very strong driving force for somebody, that internal intrinsic motivation. Because we can always show them a fixed set of exercises, but unless they are convinced that this is an exercise that is relevant to my goals, right, in their mind, then I'm not going to do it. Or if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to go through the motion and then after that, forget about it. But if it's meaningful to me and if it's relevant to my other life goals, then it's going to be something that I would stick to.
Now things inspired now to go, find meaning and then be consistent at a workout program or look after my health.
Yes.
Before I have knees pain too, before my knees deteriorate further.
Then are you like fully recovered?
Yeah, recovered. Thankfully didn't need surgeries. Like played basketball in uni, so ankles were rolled my ankles a lot, and then knees were just wear and tear. Yeah, but now good thing. Thank the Lord. Yeah, no surgeries needed.
But was there something special that you did to keep and maintain your knee health?
Hitting the gym, doing squats, leg presses to just work them a bit because those are the biggest, strongest muscles in the body. So make sure, and these are what I use every day to walk around, sit around. So I had to strengthen them and then maintain some sort of sport as well to stay active. Yeah.
So Trevor, this is the interesting thing. Many people think that because I'm feeling pain, right? They say to themselves, because I'm feeling pain, then I shouldn't be exercising, right? Because then it might make it worse.
Yeah.
But very often, I think back on my the time where I used to have muscle spasms on my this part, my traps, both sides. I couldn't even carry a backpack without getting that muscle spasm. And looking back, it was because I didn't do any weight training, and I was like so weak that somebody would just punch me there, and I will get a stiff neck, and I'll be uncomfortable for a few days. I had to go for massage and all that.
Yep.
So it's interesting how the body can really evolve and can change. And one thing I love to say is that somebody's health can get worse. It can also stay the same, and it can get better. And it's all about what we do that's going to benefit our situation, right? So somebody else has a certain routine. It may work for us. We may have to adapt a little bit, so we need to approach it intelligently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Terence, for your time.
All right.
It's been a pleasure having
Yeah.
you and
Thanks,
learning
Trevor.
about your background, and how you're serving the market with your health med system launching very soon
Yeah.
by the end of this year, 2025.
Yes. Thanks for
Okay.
having me.